So anyway, these smear merchants are in very big fear of Kemi Badenoch, the battering ram of left-wing nonsense, as you just call her. So we have, of course, the first one here, being this smear merchant, Ben Hunt. I'm presuming that's how you say that?
Yep.
Anyway, so exclusive. The UK's Equalities Minister, Kemi Badenoch, mocked LGBTQ rights, questioned same-sex marriage, and called trans women men.
Before flexing on them and then moving on. What?
In an audio recording obtained by Vice World News.
Thank you, Miss Badenoch.
Just wanted to mention his bio. I wonder if you can hover over it just to get this point across. He describes himself as senior reporter at Vice World News, LGBT rainbow flag race ex-BBC LGBT correspondent.
Right, okay.
Right.
So he's particularly on suicide watch over this.
But he's also, of course, a leftist smear merchant who comes directly from the BBC and goes into that lovely little pipeline into open leftist media instead of subversive leftist media, that's the BBC. Anyway, so let's move on from this. Let's go to the smear piece itself, because it is of interest, let's say. And we're just going to cut out the quotes from Kemi, because that's the only thing of interest here.
It's weird, we didn't get the audio, though, did we?
No,
Didn't release the audio.
he didn't provide a lovely little silver tier perk audio.
No.
You can listen to Kemi
No.
if you subscribe to Vice News. No.
And this is why Vice is a worse website than ours.
Anyway, so he does give the quotes, of course, probably not in full, but he gives what he gives. So she said, "It's no longer about minority rights in terms of race anymore or nationality. It's now, like, it's not even about sexuality now. It's now like the whole transgender movement where, okay, well, we've got gay marriage and civil partnerships, so what are transsexuals looking for?"
Great question.
Wonderful question. The LGB movement, the LGB alliance would be like, we want civil partnerships, we want no discrimination in law, blah, blah, blah. They can point to these things and say, that's the legal thing we're looking for. They got it.
Yep.
What are the T's looking for?
I don't know. The privilege to transition children
Presumably.
seems to be the frontier of civil rights they're arguing for
Yeah.
with the Tavistock Centre.
So the further quote from Kemi. Even when, so people hear about, like the whole bathroom thing, it's actually more of an American thing. But they have a similar problem. So now, it's not just about being free to marry who you want. You now want to use the men's rooms. You now want...
Have men using women's bathrooms.
Yes. So you now want to use the men's rooms and the women's bathrooms. It's like, okay, yep, Kemi is right again.
I mean, she's not wrong. And how mad was the left?
Very mad. And this whole article is them being very mad. And you see, I mean, last like 2 paragraphs of someone talking, so it's a bit disjointed, the quotes, but that's one thing. And then the rest of it is just like, he called up all his leftist mates to be like, so how mad are you about this? And Labour phoned back and went, we're so mad. And then he called up Stonewall, who went, oh yeah, we're mad too. And then SNP, and the SNP said, we're mad. And that's it. And
Sorry,
it's just,
the mad is like, excuse me, did you hear that this Conservative minister isn't a progressive? Like, oh my God, isn't she? I'm really mad about that.
yeah, that's the whole thing.
Cry harder. Why should she be?
Of course she shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. So I love it here as well.
It's literally like me ringing up and being like, guys, are you guys for lower taxes? No, we're leftists. We want higher taxes. Oh my God. Did you hear that they wanted high? Like,
Yeah,
of course they do. They're leftists.
That's it. So they end this, and we mentioned this before, they end it with a nice little list of all of our trophies in the culture war, and the best one being that they say, during Black History Month in October 2020, Badenoch pushed back against calls for more teaching of black history in schools, because she's an integrationist. She doesn't want to segregate off the Browns to have their own little history. She thinks
What a radical.
she believes black history is British history, which you don't. Vice News. So she said, saying she didn't want white children being taught about white privilege and inherited racial guilt. Good.
Wow.
Of course she did.
What a radical.
Yeah. How could she not want to bully children for being the wrong race? Yeah. So we'll go to the next link here, which is just a full speech.
I'm outraged.
Which I've spoken about before, and everyone should go and check it out. Parliamentarian's YouTube channel, actually quite good for this kind of thing, I must say. And she goes in here and she just says that critical race theory is illegal to be taught in schools because it's racial collectivist nonsense. And we don't want that. And also, Labour took that very personally and were very upset by that statement.
Well, what else can we teach? Like, we don't have any other policies.
What's the point in our party otherwise?
Exactly, that's all we do.
Yeah, so go give that a full listen, just because I think it's good. But anyway, we'll move on from that. So this was a while back, so it's just like, they're still salty about this. That's good. So let's move on to the next thing he tweeted in between all this. Oh, sorry, this is a leftist response to this as well, in which this leftist who list themselves as Vice UK Executive Editor at BBC Sounds host. Again, that lovely little pipeline. Just go straight from the BBC into Vice News and back, or whatever you want.
Really makes me think.
Same things. Anyway, she has a quote. It's absolutely disgusting that Kemi Badenoch is Equalities Minister when this is the stuff coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
It's literally bigoted word salad.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make any sense.
Oh, you can't even understand why she doesn't care about your whining.
Doesn't make any sense. What are transsexuals looking for? I don't know. I just don't understand that
Love
question
it.
at all. Yeah, that's why you can't give an answer, is it? Yeah. So let's move on to the in-between smear he tried to do. This Ben Hunt, rhymes with a certain word. So breaking, Mike Freer, a gay Tory MP, has just been announced as the new Minister for Equalities. He will work alongside Liz Truss and Kemi Badenoch. So another one being
I hope
shoved in
he's
there.
as based as they are.
Yeah, and I love it. It also shows that you're the weird, creepy losers. Everyone else is just getting on with their lives. Like, this guy is just like, I don't care what Kemi says. Based. And then just joins up because
I agree with her.
she's not bigoted. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's just a reality biting you in the arse. Anyway, so let's go on to a second smear because that didn't work. So let's try again. So he got his source, which apparently is someone who used to work with Kemi, presumably, because they have WhatsApp chats with her.
Yeah, I
And-
wonder how much they're paying for these leaks.
And this person who left got mad, and so has decided to do some very, very purposeful screen caps, as you can see with some of them there on the right there. What was after and before that? Doesn't say. Anyway, so the smear on this, they say the UK's Equality Minister, Kemi Badenoch, said, I don't care about colonialism,
Based.
dismissed the impact of colonialism on African countries,
Based.
and mocked black public figures in the UK.
What, Diane Abbott and David Lammy?
No, it turned out to be some black Tory MP,
Right.
and the mocking was that the leaker asked her, would you like him as Prime Minister? And she said, F no. That's mocking public black figures. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how dare she?
All of the information in that sentence burned.
But the thing is, if you were to poll people on these things, they'd probably all agree with her.
So let's go to the next link, which is all the screenshots, because can't bother to read through that crap again, in which they just have everyone being mad. So let's go through these screenshots. First one, of course, very cut off. So Kemi saying, I don't care about colonialism because I know what we were doing before colonialism got there. They came in and just made a different bunch of winners and losers.
Yeah, and that ties into this next one. There was never any concept of rights, so the people who lost out were old elites, not everyday people. And that's exactly correct.
Yes.
That's exactly correct. I mean, literally, you've got the British telling the King of Benin, look, you're going to stop the slave trade. And the King of Benin saying, no, please don't. It's the glory of my people. It's like, hang on a second. This isn't like, African human rights. This is a slave trading royal aristocracy going, well, no, hang on a second. All of our power and wealth comes from the slave trade. If you take that away, then that's bad for us. But that's not bad for the people who are being traded as slaves.
The direct quote from that African king was, it is the source of glory and wealth for my people.
Yes.
The mothers of his country would sing lullabies to their kids about enslaving other Africans.
Yes.
And the British said, yeah, that needs to stop, bro. We went up for that.
And
So
it was
anyway,
just the crying Wojak face
Yeah.
from the Benin King. And Kemi's accurately representing this.
yeah,
Like, it's
Africa
not-
was
there
not
was-
a noble land of glory and peace.
No, there was
before.
no universal human rights that the evil white man came in and oppressed for hundreds of years. This is not how it worked, and she can identify that.
Yeah, so let's go to the next screenshot on this. So, hey, Kemi, what are your thoughts on Sam something?
Guillemot.
Don't know him that well. He seems all right, I guess. What do you need? Oh, nothing. Just thought he'd be a good future Tory leader. F no. That's the mocking.
I don't know who he is, but
No, I don't know either. I don't care. But she's allowed
do you
to
know who I
opinion
think would be a good future Tory leader?
on it. Ooh, who?
Maybe the first black woman prime minister
Hmm.
that Labour won't ever have.
And they will endlessly be crying about.
Yes.
Anyway, let's go to the next one on here. So this is the next screenshot in which they have Kemi saying, I was on a panel with Kimberly Crenshaw.
Kimberly Crenshaw being one of the authors and prime movers of critical race theory.
So she says, who is like the queen of critical race theory at
Correct.
UCLA or Stanford. She was practically in tears by the end of it because she literally had never heard the arguments I was making and could not respond. Based. Like, it makes it sound so good.
So we went and dug this up, and Kimberly Crenshaw. So they only had about half of the.
We'll get to this.
Oh, okay.
So she responds, the leaker, saying, I'm trying to meet you where you are and engage on your train of thought. And Kemi responds with, and then she started shouting that I had no right to be on the panel because I hadn't read her book. Anyway, let's stop there. Let's have a chat another time. So it's just a conversation where Kemi's just like, yeah, so this critical race theory lady, she's full of S, and she is pathetic, which she is. So that's that. And then we have the last one here of her being even more based. So someone saying to Kemi, the leaker, I'll never understand why some people are so taken aback by articulate black people, i.e. in re-comments underneath it was really good. And then Kemi responding, don't mind them like if they found a talking monkey. Problem is that there are too many inarticulate black people given front and center stage. Look at Diane Abbott. True. I mean, how many more left shoes does she need? Practically the only black woman you see discussing politics.
Can't count.
And how she disgraced herself not knowing her brief. That kind of stuff is so bad for us. Yes.
That's amazing.
It's
But I just think
true
it's
as well.
incredible that she basically BTFOs Kimberly Crenshaw just by like going no.
You're full of nonsense. You
Love
American. Well, I'm a black American. You're not even black.
Yeah, we came just like I'm from Nigeria.
Yeah, you know nothing of Africa.
Exactly.
Anyway, but also the point being made there that I mean, it is horrible that Diane Abbott is the first black PM, I think. So
No, MP, yeah.
Sorry, because she is a joke, like international joke, because she's pathetic.
Yes.
I think an advocate of all women shortlist as well, which is probably why. Anyway, so in the article itself, you get the name of the leaker. And apparently the WhatsApp messages are from Badenoch were sent privately or posted to a group chat called Conservative Friends of Nigeria. Mm-hmm. So there's people with Nigerian sources as well. So she's
Nigerians who
don't take no nonsense.
who are in contact with Nigeria, other Nigerians, and who are conservatives.
Yes.
And they weren't woke.
No. big
Shocking.
surprise. So
Actually, that is shocking, to be honest.
the leaker themselves has a name, Funmi Abuayo. Sorry. Apparently she's the leaker and was a former investment banker. Very oppressed. Going to give a big cry for that lady. And then there's some quotes from Labour being mad and leftist race trust being mad. But there were two other quotes out of it that I thought were just really funny. So in there it said, in another message sent to part of the same conversation, Badenoch defended her beliefs around race, describing a mini identity crisis that she had in her early mid-20s. She discusses how she learned more about her race from someone who she believes would have been sacked for racism today. Someone set her straight away from the nonsense beliefs of the left, and she believes he wouldn't be around anymore. She said that she had a colleague who took no prisoners on this issue and said he was very aggressive in challenging my view of what African achievement actually was. So yeah, it's good to know as well. Like, she gets her baseness from someone who was based and came to her and were like, look, don't believe that leftist nonsense.
Yeah.
That's victimhood narrative that means nothing, doesn't reflect reality.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know what, you're right.
Good point.
Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, so let's move on from this. So there's the response I saw. So you saw Politics for All tweeting that this happened, and then Julie Hartley-Brewer saying, what's the uppercase B for black? It's an adjective, not a proper noun.
Well, that's where you're wrong, Julia, because the critical race theorists who have taken command of the conversation regarding race and, in particular, capital B black people, want to have B to be, the black to be a proper noun. So it is a nation, and this is the term they use, a nation within a nation. It's a segregationist, separatist movement.
And as you can see from below, if you can scroll, Politics for All is just like, wow, we just took it from the quote. So it's not Politics for All's fault.
Yeah, no. I didn't think it was.
It's the race theorist type, like the chap who wrote the article from the BBC. Big surprise. So there's also some other leftist seething. So if we go to the next one, we have Dr. Shola, who's going mad.
Dr. Shola. So for anyone who doesn't know who Dr. Shola is, right, you can see from her profile picture, she's there screeching. This is all she does. She goes on Good Morning Britain or the BBC, and she screeches about how much she hates Britain, and everyone in Britain's racist, Britain's evil, it's an evil colonial legacy, everything's evil, and Britain's bad, while being paid fat stacks of cash for working in Britain to tell us we're bad people. And that's Dr. Shola in a nutshell.
Yeah, so as you can see here, Minister of No Equalities,
Based.
Black Executioner of Tory Racist Policies, Racial Gatekeeper Extraordinaire. To be honest, it's kind of like a superhero or something.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
a bloody disgrace.
I mean, Kemi's just like, well, I'm good, but I'm not that good.
Racial Gatekeeper Extraordinaire. I don't know what the hell that means.
But, well, that's the point. Like, this is Dr. Shola. Everything is about race, of course, to Dr. Shola. And she's oppressed, even though she's a doctor, and she's living in the UK, and she's getting loads of money. She's got all these media gigs. She's oppressed. And this is her trying to speak on behalf of all black people. And Kemi saying, no.
Yes.
You're not, you don't speak for me, and I'm a black person, so you're not the person who speaks for all black people. Well, that's her being a racial gatekeeper.
And this is the only attack the left have, which is to talk about race. And when it's someone like Kemi, you can just tell them to go stuff themselves.
Honestly, I'm amazed she didn't just call him an Uncle to Minor.
They will within the coming weeks, I imagine. Apparently they already did in a bunch of the comments, but whatever.
Well, okay.
Interesting responses, though. Julie Bindel on our side. So
Somehow.
let's go to the next one. You can see Julie Bindel. Perhaps Vice could begin to self-identify as a serious publication.
That's a good burn.
Good put down.
See, everyone's complaining we're now on the same sides of the turf, and it's like, well, look, what choice do we have?
Also,
If
they're
they're
not
saying
wrong,
on this, they're not wrong. When it comes to male-female interactions, they're of course full of it, but that conversation's been had.
yeah. But of course, there was gushings of right-wing support, shall we say, or normal support for Kemi because
Yeah, the right wing, otherwise called normal.
I mean, is Judy Bindel part of the right wing?
No.
That's the thing. So everyone pretty much in support of Kemi except the extremists. So as you can see from the Spectator here, there was a guy who made a good point. He's a guy apparently who writes the Ethics and Empire project, so trying to rebuke some of the lies about Britain. And on here he said, on this, the Vice reporter commented that the British Empire and its European counterparts believed in the superiority of white people, and indigenous groups experienced extreme exclusion, displacement, and violence in order for the British to take control. And a source from the leak, Funmi Abuayo, founding CEO of the Black Monologues, justified sharing the messages by arguing that someone with this level of ignorance, who doesn't understand the history, shouldn't be given responsibility for managing international relations, given Badenoch's additional Foreign Office portfolio. But of course, they don't know anything about history, which is why they're so mad about Kemi pointing out the facts.
Yes.
So he had to quote from here. In fact, Badenoch has a far better grasp of history than her critics. She is clearly referring to the fact that centuries before European colonizers arrived, Africans were enslaving other Africans, mostly by capturing them in wars and raids, and sometimes taking them instead of debt. Often, slaves were destined for profitable export, first to Roman markets and then to Arab ones, the one no one wants to talk about, but they also had their local uses, which involved supplying victims for human sacrifices. Such sacrifices served a variety of purposes, sometimes to appease the gods, but more often to supply a deceased master with servants in the afterlife, to make a copious display of extravagant wealth, and to intimidate onlookers. Although wives, favourites, women and foreigners were liable to serve as victims too. Slaves were the main source. Commonly, their fate was to be buried alive.
How progressive.
Yeah, but he makes the perfect point there that this is Kemi being completely true. He's someone who studies this kind of history for his project. And then he ends with this. What's more, while the British did follow the Arabs and the Africans into the slave trade, they were the first to repent of it. No one else abolished slave trade except from the British. Moral good.
Oh, well, then we went around the world making everyone else abolish it by force.
So on the history side, full of it. On the fact side, full of it. On the just narrative side, full of it.
It's actually really amusing. So the first half of the 19th century, we're like, oh god, this African slave trade that we've been engaging in, no, that's got to stop. But also the Portuguese, the Spanish, everyone else have to stop it as well. And then, so by the midpoint of the 19th century, they were like, right, okay, well, job's done. And then someone was like, by the way, you should look at the other side of Africa. And they were like, what? And so they said around there.
Zanzibar?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then they were like, oh, look, the Arabs are doing it. Well, not anymore, you're not.
Yep.
And
I mean, the Saudis abolished it in, 1976?
I thought it was 1963, but either way, it's in the
much sooner than I thought.
Way into the 20th century,
Unlike everyone else who had just got over it. So I looked up the audio, and apparently the full audio can be found here on SoundCloud.
No, well, this is the thing. This is not the full audio, right? So you can go onto their website and get the 45-minute. This is only 33 minutes, 45 minutes. But the thing is, that cuts off at a certain point. You're 45 minutes in and Kemi starts speaking and then that's it. Then it just fades to black and you can't get any more. And so it's obviously afterwards where Kimberly Crenshaw starts losing her S and screeching at her and stuff like that. And you don't get to see that. So it's nice that they protected Kimberly Crenshaw's dignity because otherwise we'd be able to mock it.
But if anyone has a copy, I'm sure I'd be happy to play a bounty for it.
Oh, God, yeah. If you can get a copy of it, we'd love it.
Fantastic. But I did go through some of this. I didn't get to listen to the full thing because of time constraints. But I did get to listen to some of it, and there was a very good section, which I presume is what made Kimberly Crenshaw cry the most. So let's enjoy it. So let's play this clip.
We call it a compliant environment now, but hostile environment for illegal immigration is something that there's been a greater push for, not just in the UK, but all over Europe. This is a European thing. So when Kim talks about, this is also a European thing, when Kim talks about what's happening at the border between, say, for instance, Mexico and the US, we're seeing this even between European countries where the further east you go, they don't want the Romanians and Bulgarians, who again, are white, to come in because they feel that there's stereotypes about those countries, for example. It is a lot more complex. And where I would challenge the language around white supremacy, for instance, I would challenge it because the group of people who suffer the most in the UK are not blacks or Asians. It's white working class boys. It's very much a class issue. If you are a middle class black or Asian person, you are not going to suffer in the same way that if you are black working class. It is class. And we don't want to talk about class. Diane says we don't want to talk about race. We talk about race constantly. What she says is, I think what she really means is, I can't talk about race without my views being challenged. We've been talking about race non-stop for years. We have been.
So, no, that's very interesting. So when she says it's white working class boys, you can hear the edit, right? so that you can hear the edit in that. And the only reason I was able to notice that, so I watched the full thing. After she says white working class boys, there's an audible boo from the audience, who are mostly white themselves. They're literally like, boo. And it's like, that's factually true.
Literally, why are you booing me? I'm right. I've got the goddamn report.
Exactly. Why are you booing me? I'm right. The meme.
Kemi being absolutely right.
Yeah.
There's the video we can find, but if there's someone's got a full version, please do send it in, because we're hoping to do a premium podcast and all of that.
Yeah.
It's fun.
But unfortunately, like I said, I don't want to do it until we've got the footage of Kimberly Crenshaw actually responding to Kemi Badenoch and screeching at her, because that's obviously the money that's in there, and I don't want to do it with that, because it's a bit. Otherwise, it's just them making their points without actually engaging with each other's points. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's interesting and useful, but I would like that on there to.
We're going to get the money shot of Kimberly Crenshaw crying after
Basically,
being
yeah.
BTFO'd by Kemi. But anyway, Kemi Badenoch did nothing wrong. If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go over to lotuseaters.com to subscribe to get access to all the premium content we have.
The way the site works is that you have bronze, silver, and gold tier subscriptions. The bronze being £5 a month and allows you to get access to all of the premium content and leave comments on the articles. And we've got a new feature for the silver tier, and the silver and gold tier, which is having all of the premium articles accompanied by an audio track of a very smooth British voice reading, as you can see on the screen there. It's only an 11-minute listen, or it's however long it takes you to read the article. So that's for convenience. So that's for gold and silver members. And we've also got all of our regular great content, which we're all really proud of. I mean, the premium podcast we have here is Progressing to Destruction, where that's just a lot of work, where it went into examining exactly what the consequences of mass immigration have been in Britain. And this was a great deal of effort to put together, and we didn't really want it being taken down from YouTube or anywhere else, so we're hosting it on our site, and we're very pleased with, well, what is, I suppose, a bit of a negative response, but not because of anything we've done, but because of the facts of the matter, it seems. But we also do various other premium podcasts, like The Contemplations, such as Are There Human Rights? Well, it depends on whose definition of what a human right you are using is. And of course, we do our regular history podcast called Epochs. This week's was The Sea People, the Terror of the Bronze Age. I really enjoyed doing this one because there was a great collapse about 3,000 years ago of the entire economy of the Eastern Mediterranean, and it seems that a bunch of piratical raiders may have been partially responsible for that, and possibly inspired the Trojan cycle from Homer. So we discuss that in that. And of course, we do our book club. For some reason, I decided that we'd highlight the George Orwell ones that we've been doing. So we've got his Road to Wigan Pier, and of course, the classic 1984. And I'll probably do Shooting an Elephant next. Have you ever read that?
Not heard of it.
It's really interesting. It's about George Orwell's time as a colonial administrator and police officer in Burma. And at one point in his narrative, an elephant goes on the rampage in a village and is killing people and destroying houses. So he has to go down and shoot it. And it is an absolutely fascinating look at the sort of colonial dynamics. The reason I haven't done a book club this month so far is because I'm currently going through the Critical Race Theory Bible. As you can see, it's 500 pages long, and I'm about 2/3 of the way through. And there are going to be many very in-depth book clubs coming out of that, because the things they believe are crazy and conservatives need to know about them.
Last thing to mention, of course, is if you'd like to see us live, you can come to our live events. So the one we have coming up, I think Saturday is sold out, but Friday still has tickets if you'd like to come. So we're going to have Andrew Lawrence down as the secret guest for that one, to be the comedian.
Not so secret now.
Not so secret now. And Count Dankula, Carl, and I'll be giving a secret speech about a topic I don't want to ruin now. Yeah. But that's that. But anyway, if you'd like access to all that premium content, please go over to lotuseaters.com, subscribe. Thank you.